Okay, continuing on with our discussion on managing personnel, and we're going to get involved in the hiring process at this point. What happens from when you have an open position to when that position gets filled? Let's talk about the recruiting process. Many different ways to be able to recruit people for positions that are open. One of the very best ways that we can do that, what works very well for both management and for people working in the company, is to recruit from within. This helps to build morale among existing employees, and it shows that management wants to help employees to grow and advance. So you have people that are already within your organization that know a little bit about the organization, its operations, some of the things that are expected, and you may possibly have a great talent pool right there to be able to bring somebody up and give them an opportunity at more responsibility and help them to be able to use the talents they have and develop them even more. Another place to try to find people these days, social media, especially sites like LinkedIn that are designed to help people to be able to network and to be able to connect with people and, find leads on jobs that way. So you've got that particular aspect where you've got the social media platform, but of course there's also some of the help wanted sites that are out there. And that would include some of the ones where you can find job listings on just about any industry. Those like Indeed and Career Builder and Monster. You can sometimes find people on those sorts of sites. There's also career and job fairs. Go set up a little display and recruit people, especially if it's a job fair that is geared towards a particular industry. You may have much better luck with something like that. Or also just going to a local job fair where you're trying to recruit people from within a particular community. Applications on file and unsolicited applications. People still send in resumes whenever there may not necessarily be a job posting in the hopes that there would be employment opportunity. Those things are usually kept on file by a company for anywhere between 6 to 18 months. So you may have a pool of talent to choose from there. Doing advertising for positions that are open, using places like industry websites, corporate websites, also making listings available on state broadcasting associations or various trade groups. People tend to look at those places to try to find jobs. Employment agencies, especially for temporary positions, might be a good fit. Maybe not so much for the talent aspect, although that is a possibility. Many times you're going to find positions available for clerical work, maybe extra hands in the engineering department. There's also sales temporary positions that are oftentimes able to be filled by employment agencies. So that is an opportunity. And sometimes you can find a temporary employee through one of these services that you may want to bring on permanently. That is an option. Consultants and headhunters. Usually these sorts of firms are used to help find executives or to find top talent. These people tend to have a way of being able to look for the creme de la creme, if you will, having some various insights as to how to go for some of these more prominent people that your company may be looking for. Educational institutions, colleges, universities, that's going to be a good place to look for people, especially for internships and entry-level kinds of jobs. To go scope out. So hey, you never know. You might see someone walking around the halls at the school, and hey, be cordial, be friendly. It might land you a job. Word of mouth and networking. The whole idea of, oh, I know a guy, I know a gal. That still happens quite a bit. In this industry, as well as many others, many times it's luck of the draw based on who you know and what connections you have with somebody else. Internships, also a great way to look for the kinds of employees that you may need. You have an intern working at your station, your media outlet. They wind up to be really good at what they've done. Perhaps you want to bring that person on. And then there's other sources as well. There's recommendations from others. Some people may find that they have luck looking for work, putting out a situation wanted ad. You know, I'm a person that does this, and this. If you have a job that meets my needs, I'd love to talk to you. You know, it's a possibility. Also, local professional and civic organizations like Kiwanis and Lions Club and those sorts of organizations. There's a lot of networking, especially that happens on a local and small regional level where you might be able to find local employees. Now, as part of the Equal Employment Opportunity Guidelines established by the FCC, media organizations are required to provide information on job openings to any institution that requests information in writing. A lot of times those organizations are going to be educational institutions, colleges and universities, sometimes high schools as well. You may also find that requests are put out by certain groups that try to create advancements for certain segments of the population, so that they can provide information on jobs that are available and things like that. Basically, if there is a group that is interested in receiving notices of your employment openings, as a media company, you are required to provide that information to them. So that may also be a way to find a decent employment candidate. Now, once we put the word out there, we have the selection process. Once we have a pool of candidates to choose from. Often, a potential candidate will express interest in a position by providing a brief cover letter and resume. And they will also, if it's for a talent position, provide some sort of audition. In the old days, it was a tape, or a CD, or a reel. Nowadays, most of the time, we have that being provided electronically through an MP3 file for audio or through a video file when we're talking about television and video production. Companies may also require an applicant to complete a formal paper application or online application for employment, and that's different from place to place these days. You're going to find many times the larger organizations are going to require you to fill out some sort of application. Smaller companies may or may not do that. The resume might be enough, but that is something that you may be expected to fill out if you are applying for a job, or that your company may require that you have prospective candidates fill out in your managerial role. The pre-interview process. Employers often seek out additional information on the top applicants that they're looking at. They're going to want to verify educational and employment histories. So when you provide that information on the application as one that's looking for a job, generally they're going to take a look at the information you provided, perhaps make a phone call, send an email, just to ask questions about if you truly did work at a place that you said you worked at. Try to get some information from different employers about the scope of the work that you did, what kind of an employee you were, that sort of thing. Contacting personal references so that people can check out your character and what people have to say about you. Background and credit checks. Lots of companies do take a look at people's credit as a condition for employment. So that is something if you're looking for work and you're having difficulty finding work, you may want to ask yourself how well you do at paying your bills on time and things like that. And they're also going to search social networking sites. That's becoming more and more of a big deal, as they will take a look at what you're doing on Facebook and Twitter and all those places and try to get a sense of who you are in terms of your personal character. And there have been times that someone's social media account has lost them opportunities for work. So that is a thing that more and more companies are doing. Finally, diversity is a critical overarching component related to hiring. The workforce must reflect the local community in regards to opportunities for women and for people of color and many other different types of populations as well. But there's definitely this idea that the workplace, especially the media workplace, should not be just the white boys club. So we have to be very careful of that and make sure that that we are not just automatically negating certain populations from employment. That we have to be cognizant of what our makeup looks like in terms of who represents the company, and that's also going to be an important consideration. Once we've done the pre-screening, we then go into the interviewing process. For the applicant, the interview process provides an opportunity to visit the facility in person. It allows the candidates to meet prospective co-workers and managers, helps them to get a better understanding of the position and its responsibilities, and it gives them the opportunity in a face-to-face sort of way to learn about the philosophy of the organization. Hopefully, as a manager talks to a candidate for a job, they share kind of what the flavor is of the company, the type of work environment that is there, the overarching expectations of employees in light of how the company sees itself, what its mission and vision are, where they see themselves going and heading and all that sort of thing. And that's something that hopefully the prospective employee is going to be interested in, as well as the employer sharing that to make sure that those sort of things have some sort of a symbiotic fit to them in that regard. Initial interviews may be conducted over the telephone or online. That is becoming more and more of a thing, and was so to a certain extent in many jobs, especially when we're talking about talent for television and radio, as many times those sorts of employment searches are a nationwide search. So you could have somebody in New York talking to somebody in San Francisco, and it may not be feasible for either the company or the candidate to just have the candidate fly out and do all of this. So initial interviews might be done in some sort of virtual setting. Meeting an applicant face-to-face can resolve many questions about the applicant's personal qualities, motivation, and interest in the position. So there is still this sense that having that in-person contact does have a value to it. There are some things that don't always translate well when it comes to talking to somebody over the phone or talking to someone through an online chat or video chat or something like that. Sometimes that face-to-face sort of thing can make the difference in how we perceive whether someone is going to be a good fit or not. Some openings might require a skill assessment as part of the interview process, especially if we're talking about office positions or production-related positions, to help them to see competency in certain things. If, say, there's an accounting job that is open in the company, you want to know that they can do math and they know the difference between debits and credits and how to properly categorize different types of revenue and expenses and things like that. So you may have different sorts of skills tests or projects that you might ask a prospective candidate to work on and to either bring with them to the interview or work on while they are there during the interview itself. Many companies will also evaluate a candidate's communication skills, the verbal skills, the written skills. They'll conduct other types of performance and aptitude examinations. Very popular these days to have candidates fill out some sort of personality profile assessment, or do some other sort of quiz that helps an employer to see a person's temperament rather, or some of their philosophies on different things to see if those things would be a good match for the company. By law, companies cannot ask questions related to age, gender, religion, race, or sexual orientation. Those things are off limits. It's not uncommon for companies to require a drug test before an offer of employment can be made. So that is one thing that you can make as a condition of employment in most states. And negotiating the terms of employment often forms part of the final step. This would be talking about things like what the compensation is going to be, salary, benefits, the particular employer expectations, what is expected as part of the scope of work, and the level of performance that is expected. So all of those things would happen, and that's usually going to happen basically as the last step before somebody is hired. Now, once they've been hired and they've gone through the initials of what everyone agrees to and all of that, then we go into the orientation. Introducing the new employee to company policies and other personnel is known as the orientation process. Orientation should occur during the initial days of employment, usually a period of a week, maybe 2 weeks, give or take, depending on the position and the scope of all that's happening. Many media companies also require new employees to sign a form claiming that they will not accept payola or plug-ola. These are basically, there's two different nuances to them, but basically what the scope of payola and plug-ola is receiving some sort of compensation, whether it's cash compensation or gifts of some kind, in exchange for access to station resources or station airwaves or things like that. So in radio, for example, if a artist were to come up to a DJ and say, "Hey, can you play my new album and maybe kind of stick it in the rotation a good number of times, and I'll slip you a little money for that." You can't do that. That is considered payola, and it is illegal, and the station will fire you on the spot if you get caught doing something like that. Many companies have an employee handbook or similar document that explains in detail company policies and procedures regarding personnel. So an employee that newly comes into a company should have in some sort of written form or access to perhaps an online page or something that talks about things that are allowed and not allowed, and the criteria for what is deemed to be good work from them. Some tips on welcoming a new employee to your unit. First off, give them a tour. Show new employees key areas of the work site. Help them to know where their office is, where different equipment they need is, different offices that they may interact with, and that sort of thing. And that includes introducing key contacts for their position. Take time to make personal introductions. Help them with acclimation. Also recognize that someone that is new coming in is going to be learning a lot of faces and names, and don't expect them to automatically pick up on those things immediately. Everyone else in the company has to learn one new person. That new person has to learn a handful of names and positions and who to go to for this thing and that thing. In addition to introducing, it might not be a bad idea to provide some sort of list or resource that explains who people are and what they do and where to go for certain things. Arrange lunches for the first couple of days. Introduce the new employee to places near where they work to go out to eat. I've never had a company do this. I would love that. That'd be great. But hey, if you can do that, awesome. Provide the resources needed to do the job. Make sure any documents, manuals, equipment, other needs, they're available to the new employee beginning on their first day. And be available for questions. Be patient. Be supportive. Because again, a lot of stuff is being ingested by the new employee. Don't expect them to get it all just at the snap of a finger. Allow them time to get adjusted and be willing to rehash through certain things as is needed. Finally, managers should also promote ongoing development activities for not just new employees, but all employees. They provide continuing education and growth for the workforce, as well as many benefits to management. When you help your employees to learn and grow and develop, it means more efficient work, more productive work, more advanced work that comes through as a result and only helps the company as a whole. This is a good place for us to take a break. We will continue on. I'll see you over video part C.